Chef Laurent Dubois had 3 Michelin stars, 2 restaurants in Paris, and an ego that filled both dining rooms. When he arrived in Manila as a guest judge for the Southeast Asian Culinary Summit, he made his opinions clear from the moment he stepped off the plane. Filipino food, he said to waiting journalists, "I am here to educate, not to learn. French cuisine is the foundation of all fine dining. Everything else is just regional cooking." The summit had attracted top chefs from across Asia, masters of Japanese kaiseki, Thai royal cuisine, Vietnamese fusion innovators. And then there was Maria Santos, a 52-year-old Filipina chef who ran a small restaurant in Quezon City called Lola's Table. She hadn't trained in Paris or Tokyo. She'd learned to cook from her grandmother in a provincial kitchen with a clay pot and a charcoal stove. Laurent openly questioned her presence during the opening reception. "With all respect," Laurent said, not bothering to lower his voice, "why is this woman here? I see she is cooking a Whoa," he pronounced it with exaggerated difficulty. "This is a summit for serious cuisine, not village cooking demonstrations. Adobo is what peasants make because they cannot afford proper ingredients. Vinegar, soy sauce, chicken. It is survival food, not culinary art." Maria, standing nearby, heard every word. She said nothing, just smiled politely. She'd heard this her entire career, that Filipino food was too simple, too provincial for fine dining. What Laurent didn't know was that Maria had spent 30 years perfecting her adobo, not changing it to suit Western palates or adding foam and microgreens to make it look elevated. She'd gone the opposite direction, stripping it to its purest essence, understanding every chemical reaction, every flavor compound, every moment when vinegar transforms tough meat into tenderness while creating umami that even Japanese chefs envied. Her adobo wasn't peasant food that happened to taste good. It was a masterclass in technique, disguised as simplicity. The summit's main event was a blind taste test, judged by an international panel including Michelin inspectors, food critics, and master chefs. Each contestant would prepare their signature dish. Judges would taste without knowing who cooked what. Laurent prepared his signature pigeon en croate with sauce perigo, a dish requiring 2 days of preparation, 14 ingredients for the sauce alone, and technique so precise he'd fired sous chefs for errors. Maria was making adobo, just adobo. The contrast during preparation was almost comedic. Laurent commanded a station with 3 assistants, dozens of pots, specialized equipment, and ingredients flown from France: truffles, foie gras, armagnac, veal stock reduced for 6 hours. He moved with surgical precision, every component plated with tweezers. Maria had 1 large kawali, a wooden spoon worn smooth from decades of use, and ingredients from that morning's wet market: chicken, garlic, bay leaves, peppercorns, vinegar, soy sauce. Her preparation looked casual. She didn't measure anything. Laurent glanced over and laughed. "She is just throwing things in a pot," he said to a nearby competitor. "No precision, no refinement, no proper technique. It will taste like street stall food." But what Laurent couldn't see was the extraordinary care in Maria's apparent simplicity. The way she bloomed the garlic to that perfect moment between raw and brown when its compounds transform from sharp to sweet. The specific ratio of vinegar to soy sauce she'd calibrated over thousands of iterations. The patience to let chicken braise undisturbed, developing concentrated flavors while meat became tender but structured. She wasn't measuring because she'd internalized the ratios so completely her hands knew them automatically. She wasn't fussing because she understood that adobo's magic happens when you stop interfering, when you trust the process Filipino cooks had refined over 4 centuries. This wasn't primitive cooking. This was mastery so complete it looked effortless. The dishes went to judges anonymously, identified only by numbers. Laurent's pigeon en croate was an architectural marvel: golden pastry, glistening sauce, presentation worthy of a magazine cover. Maria's adobo was served simply in a white bowl: dark, glossy chicken in sauce that caught light like liquid silk, white rice on the side. The judges tasted in silence. The Michelin inspector, a severe Frenchwoman named Claudette, who'd made grown chefs cry, tried Laurent's pigeon first. Flawless technique, balanced flavors, perfect execution. She nodded approvingly. When she tasted Maria's adobo, something changed. She took 1 bite, paused, then another, and another. She closed her eyes. The other judges noticed. One by one, they reached Maria's dish, and one by one, they fell silent. A Japanese master looked confused, then tasted again. A New York Times critic put down her pen and just ate. Laurent, confident in his performance, noticed the unusual attention. "What is that one?" he asked Claudette, pointing at Maria's bowl. "It looks like someone's lunch." Claudette didn't answer immediately. "Finally, this is extraordinary. The depth of flavor is remarkably count at least 7 distinct umami notes. The acid balance is textbook perfect, and somehow it is both rich and clean. The technique required to achieve this complexity with so few ingredients." She trailed off, taking another bite. "Whoever made this understands cooking at a molecular level." When results were announced, the room went silent. Third place, the Japanese Kazuki master. Second place, Laurent Dubois. First place, by unanimous decision, dish number 7, Maria Santos, Adobo. Laurent's face went through several colors. "There must be a mistake. That was just boiled chicken in vinegar. There is no complexity, no technique." "Excuse me," Claudette interrupted sharply. "I have been inspecting restaurants for Michelin for 19 years. I know technique when I taste it." That simple dish demonstrated more sophisticated understanding of flavor development than most 3-star restaurants achieve. Maria accepted her award with quiet grace. In her speech, she said, "My grandmother taught me to make adobo when I was 7. She said, the best cooking doesn't need to look complicated. It needs to taste like home and feel like love." For 30 years, I studied why her adobo tasted that way. I learned about Maillard reactions and protein denaturation. I studied acid chemistry and umami compounds. But the more I learned, the more I realized she already knew all of it. She just knew it in her hands, not in textbooks. She looked at Laurent. "French cuisine is beautiful. All cuisine is beautiful when it comes from deep understanding and respect. Adobo isn't primitive because it's simple. It's sophisticated because generations of Filipino cooks refined it until every unnecessary element was removed, and only the essential remained. That's not peasant food. That's perfection." After the ceremony, Laurent approached Maria. His pride was wounded, but chefs respect skill. "I owe you an apology. I was arrogant. Your dish. I have never tasted anything quite like it. Would you teach me?" Maria smiled. "Of course. Come to my restaurant tomorrow. But I warn you, the recipe is simple. The hard part is the 30 years of understanding what simple really means." Laurent spent a week in Maria's kitchen, learning not just how to make adobo, but the philosophy behind it. Filipino cooking hadn't evolved to impress, evolved to nourish, to comfort, to carry memory and love in every bite. Both approaches were valid. Both required mastery. 6 months later, Laurent opened Essentiel in Paris, featuring a menu combining French technique with Filipino flavor philosophy. The signature dish, his interpretation of adobo, with credit to Maria Santos printed on the menu. Critics called it revolutionary. And Laurent always told the story of the woman who taught him that the most sophisticated cooking in the world could fit in a single pot with 6 ingredients and generations of wisdom. Maria still runs Lola's Table in Quezon City. There's now a Michelin star on the door, the first ever awarded to a Filipino restaurant. On her wall hangs a note from Laurent. "You taught me that peasant food was the highest compliment. If only I'd been wise enough to understand what it really meant."